Okay, everyone, we are going to get started. So what I'm going to do is ask you all to stay muted while our presenter finishes her entire program. And then at the end, you can unmute and we will open it up to questions. But for now, I'd like to introduce Katie Dane. Katie is the owner and operator of Little Fish Consulting, as well as the SBDC Quickbooks subject matter expert. So we are really excited and thankful that she could be with us today to share some of her expertise. So with that, I will pass it on to Katie.
Great. Hi, guys. I'm just going to, if it's okay, share my screen. It says the screen sharing is disabled, but do you think we could?
Yep, it should be
work now?
Activated now. Yep.
Perfect. All right, I got a nice slide deck for you guys. So yeah, Little Fish Administrative Consultants is my business. I started the business in 2016, towards the end of the year that year. And yeah, I've been doing this ever since. I help a lot of people with QuickBooks. I do bookkeeping, newsletters, all kinds of administrative things, just providing administrative support. So that's a little bit about me. I currently live in Hoyt Lakes, Minnesota on the East Range. So that's where I'm at right now. And yeah, I'm here to talk to you guys about QuickBooks today. And so I kind of titled this presentation, Optimizing Your Books. And what we're going to be focusing on today is how to make your QuickBooks work for you, assuming you already have QuickBooks. If you don't, and you're kind of just looking for answers on your bookkeeping, like if you're using spreadsheets right now, or you are using a different software, I think a lot of these things will still be relevant. And if you're kind of looking for where to start with your bookkeeping, this is going to kind of give you some information on that as well. So a beginner's guide to QuickBooks, we are making your bookkeeping a valuable part of your business instead of just a chore that you have to do. That's my goal, is that you'll see the value of your bookkeeping, that you'll feel like it is something that is for you, not just something that you have to do, but a good tool that you can use in your business. So what is the right tool? That is a question that you have to ask yourself. What bookkeeping tool is going to be the best fit for you and your business's needs? You really have to know your business when you're asking this question, because not everybody is going to need a full QuickBooks suite or like a full bookkeeping software, you know. And so some questions to ask yourself, are you a solopreneur? So like, are you the only person working at your business? Are you the owner and operator, sole proprietorship, or like an LLC? That would make a big difference in like what kind of software you might need to use. Do you need to track mileage for your business? It's you know, it really helps with your taxes. And if you're going to track mileage, you can find software that will also help you track mileage, as well as do your bookkeeping. Do your quarterly estimated taxes stress you out? I've talked to a lot of people recently who just feel so much stress around the quarterly estimated tax payments, and like, am I paying in enough? Am I gonna owe a bunch of money at the end of the year? How does like federal aid affect my quarterly estimated tax payments? Like, am I doing this right? And it's just like, you just get this sense of dread, you know? And so if that's you, then like, you might need a different bookkeeping solution than what you're currently using. It might not be really serving you well. And the other question is, are you having trouble keeping up with your bookkeeping right now? If you're having trouble keeping up with your books, you might need something simpler than what you're currently using. And so all of this is just to let you guys know that a really good solution that I found, if these questions kind of apply to you, if you're like, oh man, that's me, QuickBooks Self-Employed is a really good option for people who are dealing with these particular issues with their bookkeeping. QuickBooks Self-Employed is a newer software, and so that's kind of why I like to bring it up, because a lot of people don't know about it. It's a newer product that Intuit is offering. And it's designed to be used on your phone, but you can access it on the computer. And the nice thing about it being on your phone is that it's really easy to have with you on the go. So like when you're going through your day-to-day business tasks, you've got this tool that you can use to do your bookkeeping as you're going along, which I think is really helpful. It also tracks your mileage, which is nice because a feature of QuickBooks Self-Employed is like it's on your phone and it will just track your phone if you ask it to. And so you can be like, okay, track my phone. And then it'll give you a list of all the trips you did in your car. And then you just go through the list of trips and say, oh, business trip, here's what it was for. Personal trip, disregard that. And so it really helps sort out the mileage aspect of your taxes. And it also has really, really helpful estimated tax calculators. So there's a tab in there that you can go to and say like, oh, how much do I have to pay for Q1 based on all the numbers I entered? And it'll tell you exactly what they think your estimated payment should be. When I first started my business, I used QuickBooks Self-Employed and for the first couple years, and it works super well. It really just takes a lot of stress out, but it's very low maintenance. So it's a good solution and just something I like to make sure that people are aware of, because if you're using like Excel to do your bookkeeping right now, this could be a really nice transition for you to something that's a little bit more intuitive and a little more automated to save you some time with your bookkeeping. So that's that. Oh, okay, so now we're gonna kind of go into a little bit on setting up a QuickBooks account. And so I wasn't sure like what level of expertise we're working with. So if some of this is redundant, I'm sorry, you'll just learn extra about it. But just kind of talking about the different sorts of accounts and setting them up and kind of getting your chart of accounts set up in a new QuickBooks subscription. So the first thing I always tell people to look at are their balance sheet accounts, or you might have heard the term general ledger accounts. And so these accounts are for tracking assets, liabilities, depreciation, equity, things like that. This is kind of like really where you get into your like accountant terms with your accounts. These are the accounts that are a little more complicated, a little more high level. And so my best advice with these kinds of accounts, if you're starting your bookkeeping from scratch, is to go ahead and talk to your CPA or the person who's helping you with your books to kind of like get them set up, get that information into the right place, because when you're dealing with loans and property and assets, it can get complicated. And so this is a good opportunity to kind of develop that relationship with your CPA or your accountant that you're working with and kind of like get things off to a good solid start here, even if you plan on doing your own bookkeeping going forward. So that's my advice on the balance sheet accounts. Then the first account I have everybody add when they're just starting their QuickBooks is the bank account. And it's very important to add your cash accounts in right off the bat. Like seriously, the first thing you do. Because of account integrations. QuickBooks Online allows you to connect your books to your bank account so that the books import transactions straight from your bank, which really saves a lot of time of like transaction entry yourself. You can kind of like streamline that process by taking the transactions directly out of the bank. So the different types of bank accounts you can enter in QuickBooks, you can do checking and savings accounts, credit card accounts, loans, like if you have a loan with a bank, and then petty cash accounts. So as you're gonna enter these kinds of accounts in, you'll need to have some bank statements available, credit card statements if you're entering a credit card account, and loan statements if you're entering an account for a loan. All of these accounts are ones that I would say you could enter yourself, set up yourself. Maybe the loans you might need a little bit of help with, but it's pretty straightforward if you have the information. Another good thing to have available is your online banking login, because once you set up this account in your books, you're going to want to link it, like I mentioned. And so having your online banking password and username is really helpful when you're going to go to do that. So some benefits of account integration. It just, like I mentioned earlier, automates those minimal transactions that you're entering, like, oh, $2 for pens and $20 for printer paper. You know, all these things come into your bank account, and then you can just say, like, yes, I bought that, put that in the books. You don't have to create a new transaction for every single thing. So it's very helpful. Then your income and expense accounts. These are just your accounts that are going to be on your profit and loss report. I really like income and expense accounts, and I hope by the end of this you will too if you don't already, because these accounts are like, they're for you, I would say. They tell a story. They tell the story of like, where'd the money come from and where's the money going? And they are really helpful for making good decisions and projections in your business. If you can like kind of watch these cash accounts of like where the cash is coming from, where the cash is going, it's really helpful. And you can really tailor them specifically to your business so that you're getting the most bang for your buck, to help you make informed decisions about your business. And so, yeah, these are just basic accounts to say, like, track where the money went. And so in QuickBooks Online, they call income and expense accounts categories. So that's something you might notice if you're like just starting out, like, oh, I didn't see an expense account. Well, it'll be like, oh, what category do you want this to go in? So yeah, I really think they're valuable, and you'll see if you don't have them already why by the end of this presentation. So what I always tell people to do is write down some of the main goals that you want to track for your business. So like, okay, we want to track, you know, like our goal is to sell this much in this particular product. Well, how are you tracking that? And that's kind of what these accounts are for, is like saying, okay, well, if I want to sell this much of this particular product, I need to be tracking that product. So I'm going to make an account for like, okay, expenses that go into creating that product, income from that product, and then you can run a profit and loss report just around that product, even to say like, okay, how is this particular aspect of my business doing? So that's kind of a challenge, is write down some goals that you have for your business, and then kind of start thinking about like, okay, if this is a goal, how can I track it? Because if you're not tracking your goals, then it's really hard to know if you're actually achieving them. Okay, so this is just some basic bookkeeping stuff. Like, why do we do accounting? Why do we do bookkeeping as part of our business? And the biggest answer I get on this is the most common answer, I guess, is for the government, for taxes, for if I get audited, for making sure that I'm compliant. Like, yeah, that's super important. It helps with taxes. It helps with leaving a trail if you're audited. It's a good business practice. Like, yes, but it can do so much more for you than just be a good business practice and a chore. It's really for you and for your business, because it shows you how you're doing. Well, here, let me just go. Why you should do accounting. Here's why it's for you. It helps you to know if your business is actually profitable or not. So many people I talk to who have businesses are like, well, I hope we're doing okay. You know, like, I hope I have enough to pay the bills next month. Like, I hope these things come out all right. And if you're doing good bookkeeping, you should be able to know if you're making enough money to pay the bills that are going to be coming in. You should be able to know if you need to make some changes in order to hit payroll next month. these things should not sneak up on you if you're doing good bookkeeping. It helps you to know and to have more confidence when you're making these business decisions. Okay, so yeah, in 2020, we learned this. Good accounting helps you apply for grants and loans more easily. If you're not able to really keep up with your books right now, it's super hard to put together a grant or a loan application because you just don't have the information accessible. You have to go through your bank account. You have to go through all of your invoices and statements and all these things to get the information together, when in reality, if you had your bookkeeping kind of organized, you could just pull a few reports, take you a couple hours maybe, and you're ready to go. So that's another reason. Oh, and so you can get paid. I mean, everybody likes to get paid, right? And having good bookkeeping can help you get paid more efficiently because you're tracking your invoices and you can see if they're past due. You have all the contact information for your clients all in one place where you can go and like look for it. So that's really helpful. And yeah, and again, on the same line, you can easily track down information. So if a client comes back to you and says, hey, you double charged me in December, you need to refund me, you can like go back and look and see what's going on with that scenario. Like, oh, well, let me check your account. And you go back and you see that this client paid you in cash in December and they didn't have any other charges come out of your bank account, so you couldn't have overcharged them. Then you have evidence to back yourself up if you need to. So again, that's another reason why accounting is good and why it's good to kind of get these things in order beyond just being compliant, beyond just tax reasons. Okay, so now I want to go through a few other things that are important to set up when you first start your QuickBooks. And I'm also going to kind of touch on some and focus on some things that I think are helpful with these areas. So if you already have a QuickBooks subscription, you can learn something here as well. I'm going to share some tricks that I use to optimize and to save time when doing these things. So when you're setting up products and services in general, if you haven't done that yet, it's a really, really helpful thing to do because it saves you a lot of time when you're making your invoices to send to your clients. And it helps you with sales tax calculation. Having products and services set up in your bookkeeping system will help make sales tax calculations easier, and I'll show you a little bit more about that shortly. Just checking the time. It's also valuable for communicating with your clients or customers because the products and services, you can customize what they say. They're a very client-facing part of your books. You can have descriptions and notes to the clients in the products so that when you put it on an invoice, it has something for your client on there. And the tool I'm going to teach you about, if you didn't already know about it, that saves me a lot of time with products and services, is called Bundle. Or in QuickBooks Desktop, it was called a group. This is a tool that can be used to add multiple items to an invoice using just one entry. And it's very helpful if you're keeping track of internal metrics and you don't want your clients to see these internal metrics. For example, I'm going to show you how to set it up. So this is a sample company, and I have just gone to, you can see in this screenshot, the products and services area, and on the far right, there is a little green button like add new product or service. So you can see here on the list, the bottom one is a bundle. A collection of products or services that you sell together, and they give the example of a gift basket. But another really good way to use this tool, as I mentioned, is with stuff that you don't want your clients to see, but you want to track. So you'll just kind of enter in, once you click it, this is what it looks like, and you'll enter in the name of the item bundle. So you can see here, front garden package, for example. So this business has a front garden package. And so the description, which is what the client will see, is Enjoy a beautifully landscaped front garden. It includes florals, design, installation, and weekly maintenance. Okay. So then down here, you can add products or services into this group. So he added gardening, he added design, he added installation, and he added the price of the sod for the garden. So he can either click this little checkbox that says display bundle components when printing or sending transactions, or he can not click it. So if he doesn't click it, all the client is going to see is front garden package and the description he provides, which is really helpful, I found, for various clients who track hourly time on things. So they have, like, say, our business's hourly rate is $150 an hour. We're a big company, we provide these services, and we track these services based on how many hours it takes our team to complete them. But you don't really want your client to see, like, oh, I'm getting charged extra for the installation. I'll just do the package but install it myself because that's too expensive. So this way you can kind of customize what your client is seeing without losing the ability to track these things internally, because he's still going to know, okay, this takes 3 hours for design, 6 hours for installation, but the client isn't going to see that. So on the invoice, this is kind of what it looks like. He has, so yeah, so you can see your customer won't see any of the items in this bundle. So all the customer is going to see here is front garden package and the description and the amount. But you can see inside of the books all the different items and the sales taxable items and all the details. So that can be a really helpful tool. Just moving you guys over to the side of the screen so I can see better. Okay. So next I want to show you guys a little bit about setting up sales tax in your QuickBooks. We've got time. So sales tax is something that you can track in your books if you're not already. This is how you set it up, and kind of can also use this as a way to review and make sure you've got everything set up correctly. You have to have a couple of questions answered before you start setting up your sales tax. So one being, do you do business in more than one state? Because you need to know who you have to pay taxes to. Which agencies do you need to pay tax to? What is your filing frequency? And where are you located? So like kind of gather all of this information together before you start this process of setting up sales tax in your books. Then you can go to the taxes center on the left hand kind of bar, and you can see on my screenshot where that is. So you click that, and then you can click the green Get Started button, and they have a really helpful little sales tax wizard to help you set it all up. So it'll look like this, and the first thing they'll ask you for is your business address. So you'll just enter that in there, and they use the address to calculate like the tax rates on things and like figure out where you are for paying sales tax. So like this guy has to pay sales tax in California, and maybe he'll have to pay sales tax in San Pablo as well. So like it takes into account city taxes and state taxes. And then you have to tell them who collects your tax. Just moving this out of the way. So yeah, who collects your tax, and you can say like, okay, we have just Minnesota taxes. So then you only have to enter that. You don't have to add in like other states, but if you do have other states, you have to say like the other places as well. And then once you enter that, you can click next, and then you'll be all set to go after you, and then it'll bring up this window and it'll ask you like, okay, what's your filing frequency? And so if you're doing sales tax for your business, you should know what your filing frequency is. And so you can just enter that in, and then they will help you calculate that. Then you can save it. Then the next step is to go back to your products and services and start reviewing them. And so you can see in every product or service that you offer, when you click on it to get more information, it'll tell you oh, do you want to set this up for sales tax? Everything starts as like non-taxable, but you can change it to taxable. And you can either have just the standard rate on items, or they do let you pick a special category. So it kind of will like customize it to figure out the rate of taxes that you need to be collecting from your customers. So that's really helpful. If you're just kind of starting out and you're not really sure of sales tax, having it set up here is a really good way to, just make sure you're calculating it all correctly. And then you also want to check on your customers or clients and make sure that the tax information is up to date, because for some businesses, you might have clients that you can't charge sales tax to because they're tax exempt. And so then you can just fill that out right here on their client or customer page. And you'll find that on the customers tab of QuickBooks Online. And then when you are doing an invoice, the sales tax, you can see kind of in this example on the left, they have the tax and the little green check marks by each thing. So if it has a check mark, that means it's going to apply the tax to the invoice. But if you click the check mark, you can like not apply the tax. And if you're kind of like thinking it looks a little weird for the number it's calculating, if you click on the sales tax number, which is circled in red there, you can see how it's calculating the math behind that. So like this one, it has like, okay, well, your concrete is this much and your rock foundation is this much. This is how we got the number based on the people you're paying taxes to. So that's helpful if you're feeling like it looks a little weird. You could click that and see if all the calculations look right to you. And then if you go to taxes after all of this is set up and you've reviewed all of your customers, clients, products, and services, the Sales Tax Center, which is found under the Taxes tab, will show all of the tax due based off of the invoices and sales receipts that you've entered. And so then from here, you can see the exact numbers you need when you go to log in to pay your sales tax. It's going to ask you for your gross receipts total and for the taxable income and for the amount due in taxes. And you can get all of that information from here. And if you want to, you can even pay QuickBooks to file the sales tax payments for you, but you definitely don't have to do that. It's not very hard to do yourself, as I'm sure if you've dealt with sales tax, you know. But it does make it a lot simpler to know how much you need to pay without having to go hunt back through everything and calculate it manually. Yeah. Okay. So now we're moving on. If you had any questions about the sales tax stuff, I hope you wrote them down and then we can talk about them later. But now I want to talk to you guys about QuickBooks payments. And this is a feature that is free from Intuit, and it's not something that everybody knows about. So I thought it would be helpful if you guys could learn about it. So payments, there are 2 plans available in QuickBooks Online. And what payments is getting paid by your clients. And you'll see a little bit more as we get along in the process of talking about it. But there are 2 plans available. One plan has a monthly fee, and then you have a lower rate per transaction for credit card transactions. The other plan has no monthly fee. It's completely free to you, but it has a higher rate per transaction for credit card transactions. So it doesn't have fees on ACH or like bank transfer transactions. It's only on credit cards. And what the payments system does and allows your clients to pay you through the invoice that you send them in QuickBooks. And it accepts all of these different kinds of payment methods from your clients. So it can really help you get paid faster. Once I set it up, I got a lot of my clients paying me with just like clicking a link in the invoice I send them over email. Right when they get it, they'll be like, oh, I'll just quick pay that before I forget about it. So it really helps you get your money faster, and it's free to set up. So it's kind of a win-win. So once you have it set up, there's a lot of different ways you can get paid. They allow you to, like I mentioned, send invoices with a Pay Now button, and you can accept credit card and bank transfer payments. You can get paid by phone using this, by entering in the credit card number. So like if you have a client that's talking to you on the phone and says, okay, well, I just want to pay that invoice, you can enter their information on. You can you can ask them to send you a mobile card reader, which would let you swipe credit cards, which would be helpful if you were doing something like, craft show fairs or like selling products at a stand. You could I'll just swipe it and it'll appear in your QuickBooks and you'll get the money in your bank. And you can set up recurring payments. So if you have retainer clients pretty much retainer clients, you can charge them monthly. And that might work really well if you had like a subscription type service too. So getting payments set up, again, it's free to use. It's really helpful, helps you get your money faster. If you go into your account and settings area in QuickBooks, which you have to click the gear in the upper right-hand corner, then you can get to this screen. So you'll click the little gear, go to account and settings, and then you can click the payments area. And from there, you can see you'll enter, okay, like we want to get QuickBooks payments set up. You can click one of these little drop downs. Next, it opens up this window where it's like an application to, hang on, my light turned off. Just turn that back on. Sorry. It's an application. And so you'll just enter your business information. So your EIN, your business type. So like, are you an LLC? Are you a sole proprietorship, incorporated, whatever. You'll have to enter your personal information to verify that you're the business owner. And then you'll have to provide your bank account and routing numbers. So obviously they can send money to your bank. So this is kind of an example of like the business information screen that you would fill out, and you'd say like, I'm a sole proprietorship. This is the business's legal name. Here's how much money I think I'll be processing monthly. Just some of that background information to get things set up. Here's an example of what you would enter for the personal information. It would be your first name, your address, your birthday, your social security number. And again, that's just to verify who you are, and it's a secure portal. They're not like going to steal your information or anything. But this is a contract with Intuit to process money and to send it to your bank account. You are partnering with them. And so it's very important that you do this process yourself, because you're agreeing, it's like signing a contract. You're agreeing to allow them to do this. It's important that you're the one doing it yourself. So if anybody says like, oh, I'll just set that all up for you, don't worry about it, that's a red flag. This is definitely a process that you don't want your accountant doing for you, because you're authorizing it. It's a contract that your name's going to be on. So it's important to know what you're getting yourself into. But again, a really helpful tool, and it's super great. So then if you already have an existing merchant services account, like you've used this in the past with like your QuickBooks desktop or something like that, you can connect, after you set up the QuickBooks payments account, connect that to your merchant services account that you already had. You have to be the master administrator of the QuickBooks company to complete this setup, which I guess basically is just like a permissions thing. So if you have various levels of permission in your QuickBooks, make sure that you're on the main admin one if you want to do this. And then you just click connect here, and you'll enter the information for your existing account, and it'll link them so that you're not getting like weird stuff where you have two accounts and your old records are lost and like all this. So you can still use this even if you had something from Intuit set up before. You just kind of merge them together. Okay, we're getting kind of low on time. So let's see. Oh, okay, so that's good. This is the last thing I have to talk about. Reporting, which I like to touch on a little bit because I think reporting is kind of where you get the value from your books. You start like learning how to answer these questions for yourself. So reporting is the main place you go to get information from your books. And I'm going to switch over now to a sample account that's like a live account to kind of show you how we can play with reports and what we can do in that section. So my challenge for you while I switch over is to think of a question that you would want answered for your business. So an example would be like, I have a client who is in BNI chapter and they have to report to BNI on like referral income that has come from that program. And so they'll be like, okay, well, how can we find the numbers for income we've made based off of referrals from BNI? So that's an example of a question, but try to think of something that relates to your business. Then we could use reports to kind of answer. Okay, I'm going to switch over now here. Let me just get that up here. Okay, so this is the live Quickbooks, and you can go to the reporting area. This is just a sample account. This isn't somebody's real account. My internet connection's unstable, but I think it should be okay. Let me know if you can't see what we're doing here. So your basic reports, you've got your accounts receivable aging summary. So what that means is your invoices that are open that you need to collect on based off of how old they are. Your balance sheet and your profit and loss. Those are like the main bread and butter. So we're gonna look at a profit and loss. And we're gonna do 2020, just so we have more numbers to look at here. So you can really customize reports, and a lot of people don't know that. They're just like, oh, okay, well, here's my profit and loss. Bada bing, this is what I've got. I can change the month, that's pretty much it. But you can actually pull up this customize feature and you can change a lot of things. So you can, instead of having the total only, you could say like, show me months. So now we've got our profit and loss, and look, it's broken down with a column for each month. So if your question is, how did we do in December compared to how we did in January? Okay, now you can kind of see like, oh, here's each month. This is really helpful now. Another thing you can do is you can filter your reports, which is very helpful if you're looking for specific information. So you could say like, oh, okay, I want to see only this product. Like I only want to see a profit and loss for lighting. Then it really breaks it down and just zeroes in on that one particular product that you're kind of wondering about. The other thing, I don't think they have it entered in this sample company, but you can also set up classes in QuickBooks, and classes allow you to filter things even clearer without changing the account that they're in. For example, if you had, say, like a youth outreach program and you had a account for student expenses, but you want to break it out into like, okay, well, I want to know how much in student expenses goes to food for the students, how much goes towards events that we take the students to, how much goes towards furniture that gets broken and we have to replace because of students. You know, you can add those things as classes, and then it would still be in the same account of student expenses, but you could say like, oh, let's break it down even further. So that's a good tool to know about. And yeah, the filters are really helpful. So, and then the other thing is you can have a custom header and footer, which is helpful if you're making a report for somebody else. For example, if you work at a nonprofit and you have to make a report for the board, you can change it to say like, okay, instead of just saying Craig's landscaping services profit and loss, you could say like June 2020 profit and loss, or you could call it lighting product. So then they know specifically what they're looking at. And then if you did that, you can see the name like changes on here. And then you could filter it to be like, oh, just that one product. So this is really helpful because it kind of helps you like figure out, okay, here's my question, how can I answer it? So for example, with the client I talked about, the BNI referrals, we ran a report and we sorted it based off of address. And we put the address of the local area where their BNI chapter was, so that we could say like, okay, here's all the sales you made to people in that general area. That could be a referral from BNI. And then they were able to go through that list, that report, to narrow it down even further and specifically identify the income that came from that program. So the reports are really helpful. If you've never played with the customization, I would definitely recommend it. If you've never really like messed around in reports, like try it. You're not going to break anything. Nothing important can get broken from messing with the report section of QuickBooks. So I would definitely recommend taking a look at that. And that pretty much, I think, brings us to the end of what I have. So I think we can kind of go on to the questions part.
Yeah, does anybody have any questions for Katie at all? I know that was a lot of information, but valuable information. So if anybody has any questions, just feel free to unmute and ask away.
Hi, this is Debbie. I have a question. So it is really important to have a bank that has a pretty seamless online functionality. What banks locally are the best?
Oh, that is a really good question. So yeah, if you're working with like the national bank, I guess they'd call them chains, those do work really well because they are bigger. So like, you know, your Wells Fargo, your US Bank, those kinds of banks. But I know locally I've worked with American Bank in Cook and Biwabic, and I think they're in Virginia, Mountain Iron. They have a pretty smooth online banking connection that people have connected to QuickBooks Online really easily. I also have had a really easy time with Northern State Bank in Virginia. Again, I'm not in Grand Rapids, like Itasca County, so like my recommendations, I guess, might be a little bit out of your area depending on where you live. But I think most banks, if they have online banking available to you, it's going to link just fine with the QuickBooks system. The only thing that it has a hard time with is if your bank has a CAPTCHA, which is like that little thing it puts up to see if you're a robot. Mm-hmm. If it has that when you first log in, you might have to like go in and say like, oh yeah, I'm still not a robot. From time to time, it won't just stay linked all the time, but it's pretty smooth. And I have worked with a lot of smaller local banks, and it has little to no trouble connecting with that.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, my name is Wendy and I have a question.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Wendy.
Okay. I work for a sole proprietorship and I'm just now been asked to do a little bit of the invoicing with their QuickBooks program. And here's my question. I'm not real familiar with QuickBooks, thus your expertise is valuable to me. My question is, when I'm doing, I mean, I've been shown a little bit of how to do this invoicing process. If I have questions, is there a simple way for me sitting at the desk to get some quick support or answers to questions I might encounter?
Yes, that's a good question. So you can always find answers for QuickBooks questions because it's like a very common software. It's like very widely used. And so I cannot recommend their like chat support or like QuickBooks helpline stuff. That in my experience is pretty not fun to work with. Like, you know, will waste like hours of your time and they will not help you. But I have had a lot of really good luck with just typing my question into Google and saying like, okay, I need to know how to do such and such a thing in QuickBooks Online. And QuickBooks Online has a very active community of people answering questions. And so oftentimes I can find on their website just like the exact question I typed in and somebody saying exactly step by step how to do it. So that's a really good resource to use to just kind of like find information on generally how to do things or how to do things that are a little more complicated or like weird. I've had a lot of good luck with that. The other thing is QuickBooks has a YouTube tutorial channel. And so that's really helpful. That helped me out a lot early on when I was first learning QuickBooks of just like, okay, I'm just going to go watch these videos that QuickBooks provides. And it's just like somebody talking through the process of doing whatever, and they have a screen share and they just show you like how to do it. So those are the two ways that I mainly use if I'm looking for some information on how to do something. But yeah, you can learn it. It's not too hard to just kind of like find the answers. I wish they had better support, but they don't. But like when I first started out with QuickBooks, like I started my business with $2 and a dream. I had Small Business for Dummies and I had QuickBooks for Dummies. I was like, I'll learn this. It's gonna be fine. So I definitely understand being in that situation, and those are some things that helped me.
Thank you very much.
Are there any more questions for Katie before we sign off? Okay, well, with that, thank you, Katie. We look forward to next month's session. So everybody should zoom in for that one. Watch our website for the deeper dive into QuickBooks, which is also Katie's wheelhouse. So we will luckily get to see her again next month. So for future reference, when you are going to join next month, we will have this recorded session in our Engage Hub on our website so that you guys can go back and watch this session before the next session so that you can have a little refresher. So thanks again, Katie, and thanks everyone for joining, and we hope to see you next month. Bye, guys.